Yeah, Peter's enjoying that one.
Incredibly peaceful music, Mark. That was wonderful. I guess, it used to be the case that we preceded the fantasy show on Thursday nights, which made us the foreplay. But now that the fantasy show is coming first, I guess that qualifies us as the post-coitus cuddles,
Yeah.
And that music really, that put me in the mood for some cuddling, man. I'm ready to.
Well, we're too far away for that, Peter, at the moment anyway. So, yeah, it's going to have to be Bundesliga for tonight anyway. But, yeah, great to see you all back today. Obviously, back for the Matchweek 2 predictions of the Bundesliga 25-26 season. Obviously, I think the match day this week has kind of been overshadowed by the crazy transfer news, which we'll obviously talk you through a little bit as we talk through the games. But there's obviously been a lot of kind of last-minute transfer news through this week already, mostly for, outgoings from the Bundesliga, but also some interesting incomings as well going on, particularly at Leverkusen and the like. So, yeah, nice to see some of you already checking in. Good to see Sammy over there. Obviously, Justin as well over in Australia. Great to see you guys checking in as well. Let us know your predictions as well. We're always interested to see what our, fellow fans think about the match week ahead. But, yeah, just before we get started, don't forget that we are obviously sponsored by the fantastic Bundesliga boxes and Bully News as well. Go and check them out. Runa's fantastic site as well. And also Bundesliga boxes and covert footy trips as well, which is the fantastic Rich over in Norwich. Don't forget that we are also to like, comment, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. And also, we're also on all of the social medias too, so check us out there. We will be getting to some match days as well, just this weekend in my case anyway too. So, yeah, without further ado, Peter, let's kick it all off, shall we? We've got a Friday night thriller this weekend, haven't we, really, over in the Fischstadt of Hamburg as well, up in the north of Germany. We've got the HSV versus St. Pauli. It's the one we've all been waiting for, isn't it? Finally, we're going to see this fixture in the Bundesliga once again. These two teams have met quite recently in the Zweite, but obviously this is the first meeting in 3 seasons now, obviously with Pauli getting promoted last season. Who's going to win it, Peter? I'll let you kick us off for this one. Who's going to win the Fischstadt derby?
German football wins the Fischstadt derby. After 14 years, we're, of course, very, very excited to have this derby back in the Bundesliga. It's been oh so very long, and it is very much worth your time. If you didn't have a chance to check out the scenes at the Mühlentor last Saturday night when St. Pauli was hosting Dortmund, and all the pyro and all the choreo and all the confetti, which was all over the pitch for the first half. The Hamburg fans, this is their first match back at the Volksparkstadion, which is huge for them after 5 years. So there's going to be choreos and pyros and all sorts of wonderful, just absolutely, beautiful stuff. What German football is all about on a weekend when we're going to be discussing so many. I am so exhausted, Mark, as a Bundesliga beat writer. You English will not stop throwing money at German players, and it's so exhausting, but we still have this. And I want to talk a little bit about St. Pauli. They, of course, impressed very much last weekend with that amazing comeback draw against Dortmund at home. And I do stand corrected that the name of the Swedish defender, central defender / captain is Schmid, not Schmeidt. Did I say Schmeidt?
Yeah, I think we've had just about every name for him so far.
Okay.
Every week, but yeah, we've had Smith, we've had Schmeidt, Schmidt.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. He doesn't know himself. I think he's just happy. I want to go ahead and botch 2 more names because I gave that Dortmund match another look, and I think that the wingbacks, they might have been sort of the unsung heroes of the match day. Both of them are new acquisitions. So you've got Arkadiusz Piłka. That's Arkadiusz. Yeah, that's Polish. He's the right wingback. And then I should know this because he was Bielefeld's Pokal hero, but I don't know if he likes to go by Louis Oppi or Opie. I don't know. But in any case, I was really, really impressed by them and by St. Pauli as a whole. Hamburg, I gave Stefan Kunst too much credit in our head coach's pod. I said that he had built a good, balanced roster and all of this. You have to understand, Stefan Kunst is he was a former FC Kaiserslautern captain. He coached the KSC, he coached the Germany U21s. I'm a little biased, and I really wasn't looking closely. I mean, I just thought to myself, oh, great, he got Yusuf Poulsen, he got Jordan Torunariga, he got, I just was looking at the names and not looking at how this team was put together. And it's put together very, very, very poorly. As we know from that awful 0-0 draw with Gladbach, not a lot of good things to say about that, other than the fact that Dompe was very, very good off the bench, and he should definitely start this time. The problem that we have here is that the HSV fans are going to be keeping it rocking throughout. But St. Pauli are clearly the better team. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 St. Pauli victory. Probably Hutanji and Dompe trade goals. I don't know where the winning goal from St. Pauli comes from. I doubt that Kars is going to be available on such short notice after just arriving from Magdeburg today. But so I will go 2-1 St. Pauli. I do hope we get that. I mean, watch it be a 0-0 draw based on the fact that we have these teams. But I'll go 2-1 St. Pauli. Mark, to you?
We've actually not agreed on this one, Peter. Yeah, I just feel as though the atmosphere is going to play into this so much. I mean, as you say, HSV's first game back in 8 years. Obviously, St. Pauli, as you say, they were brilliant last week. I would say that's one of the best we've seen them, including last season's games. I thought they looked so many live wires in that team. As you say, Hutonji was particularly impressive. And if he puts in a performance like that, it's going to be a problem for the HSV back line. But as you say, as brutally ugly as the football that HSV play, they are a solid defensive team, I feel, and they didn't really give Gladbach much of a sniff at all last week. Obviously Gladbach were without Kleindienst, and they were with the rather hapless Tabakovic as the main striker, so that could be something to do with it. But I feel as though HSV are defensive, but they could nick a goal off a set play. We know that Merlin Poulsen does kind of really target his set plays. I feel as though if they go with Dompe and also Yusuf Poulsen, I would like to see start as well, because I thought Königsdorfer didn't do enough for me to earn a second. And as I mentioned last week, I think he wasn't even a first choice striker last season in this fighter. So I was quite shocked to see him line up in the starting 11 for this game. So I do think we'll see Poulsen and Dompe both start. So I've actually gone for maybe a kind of half surprise in this one, given how much Pauli were getting talked up. I've gone for a 1-0 Hamburg win in this one. I just feel as though the atmosphere, the fans are going to win this one for Hamburg in my eyes, even though I think Pauli will have most of the neutral support because of, how well they played last week. And I also see one of our commenters in there is actually picking a 3-1 Pauli win, which is quite interesting. So we've got all kinds of results for this one, haven't we? We've got Peter and Sammy tipping a Pauli win. I'm going to go for the highest foul 1-0. But a lot of people probably tip a draw in this one too. So it's definitely going to be an interesting curtain raiser for the match day. And I can't wait to see those, the pyro and the choreo for this game. Tomorrow evening. It's going to be a hell of a game. All you watch it on BBC in the UK as well, make sure you check this one out, because it'll put the Premier League atmosphere to shame. I can guarantee that. The millions might still be in England, but we still got the atmosphere for sure. Anyway, let's move on. Moving on to Saturday's games, the Halb 4, the much-loved Halb 4 kickoffs in Germany is going to start off with a game between two maybe not so fully loved clubs here in Germany, but RB Leipzig against Heidenheim. Interesting game. Both teams coming off pretty poor defeats in the opening game. Obviously, Leipzig getting absolutely drubbed by FC Bayern in brutal fashion, really. And Heidenheim putting up a slightly better fight against Wolfsburg, but obviously being well beaten in the end. I think, obviously, the key news is that the goal scorer from that game, the impressive Ciencia, is going to be going to Southampton in England, by the look of it. That's the latest transfer, which is a little bit frustrating that the championship teams can pluck talent from the Bundesliga, but that is how it is nowadays, isn't it? So that's definitely going to be a weakening for Heidenheim. They have signed, what is his name? Passeranda from Köln as well. So that's probably the replacement for Ciencia, but again, maybe not quite the same level. As for Leipzig, obviously, they're going to need a reaction, basically, on the back of last week, because it was a poor performance across the board. Javi Simmons is also being linked with Tottenham now as well. So I doubt he'll be involved with this game, but I think that's yet to be seen because it's still in the early stages of bidding, whether that's going to go ahead before Saturday. But regardless, I still feel as though Leipzig have got more than enough quality to win this game quite comfortably. I think the likes of Babioko and Diamande are going to really look to step up the game in this one. They're going to have a lot more possession with that kind of Schlager. I expect to get more on the ball in this game as well. So I've actually gone for a 4-1 win for Leipzig in this one. I feel as though they will get a few goals against a relatively weak-looking Heidenheim side. What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I went ahead and put a pencil to it for Ole Werner, and I did this free of charge. So he's welcome to thank me if he likes. I mean, you have to make wholesale changes here. I mean, in principle, this 4-1-4-1 system that sort of morphs into a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2 in various situations is a good one. But you have to make some wholesale personnel changes. Xavi is not going to factor in at all. I would actually start Nusa up front. Matter of fact, I think he deserves to serve as the lead striker with Bakayoko and Romolo right behind him. I'm going to throw Banzuzi into the team. He had a very good camp. I'm going to get rid of Seiwald, and it's a shame we can't replace him with Vermeeren, but they just. I mean, I don't know what happened with Vermeer, and they signed him for 20 million, and then they just forgot about him. They didn't use him all in camp. I think, I mean, they let Seiwald run away with that competition. So Xaver Schlager, who actually did have a very, very good camp, runs the midfield alone, the way the 4-1-4-1 is intended to run. And I'm going to swap out one of my favorites, Riedle Baku for Nedeljovic. And it's probably time for Van der Voort to take over for Gulashi, but we're just not going to do it yet. Heidenheim, as you mentioned, are without the man who scored the goal for them in last week's loss against Wolfsburg, Senzia. He scored it off a set piece, a dead ball as well. They have gotten Leat Pakarada from Köln, who will fill the team's extremely exigent need at the left back position. They don't have a left back. They have been using Jonas Feurenbach, which is fine by me, but I mean, in terms of the Bundesliga, it might not just be the best solution. So you need wholesale changes from Frank Schmidt here too, and I didn't put a pencil to it for him because he actually is quite the tactical tinker. He doesn't necessarily need my help. I don't think Pakarada's ready to start. So I don't know what you do exactly. I mean, you have Zivzivadze, who I would love to bench in favor of Mikhail Kaufmann, who had a good camp and did well off the bench. You have our friends Omar Hakhtar Traore and Zalord Conte, who could serve as the wingbacks, replacing Feurenbach and Marvin Busch. Maybe you put a 3-2-3 or a 3-2-4-1 together. Who knows? At any rate, Leipzig are going to win this. I am going to not say that they're going to run away with it, but I'll give them a 2-0 win over the Ostalben Schwaben.
Interesting tips as well. Just a few tips coming in. Justin, obviously big Leipzig fan, has gone for a 2-1 win. I think pretty much a full house on Leipzig with another 2-1 coming in from Sammy. And then DM suggesting, always going for, 3-1, the energy drink.
Energy drink.
Yeah.
Legal crack is what they say. Austrian legal crack is what it is.
Straight out of Salzburg. Yeah. And then, obviously, some really nice comments as well coming in. Obviously, Rory as well. Football as it's meant to be. Couldn't agree more, Rory. Couldn't agree more. Anyway, so go on, Peter. I'll let you lead out on the next one. So following through, it's going to be who's it going to be? It's going to be Bremen Leverkusen we're going to go to next.
Yes. Speaking of apologies, my second apology of the night, I've corrected myself on the Schmid pronunciation. I also want to apologize to the Sky reporter who mistook Marco Friedl for a Eintracht Frankfurt player in last week's post-match interview. I have a feeling that what she did was she mistook him for Robin Koch, because Robin Koch and Marco Friedl kind of look very similar now that I think about it. And he was wearing a Eintracht Frankfurt tricot. He was wearing Michael Zetter's tricot. Okay, Bremen, tire fire. Let's go over what's going on with them now. Friedl is a confirmed out for this game against Bayer Leverkusen. So too is Julian Malatini, but that doesn't really matter because he was god awful anyway. We have a new acquisition from Southampton. We do get some Premier League players on loan here in the Bundesliga. And I'm very, very happy to report that Yukinari Sugawara, pour some Sugawara on me, has now arrived in the Hanseatic city-state, and I was able to do a large piece on him in which he declared Mio Backhouse his new best friend, because Backhouse, of course, has Japanese heritage as well, not to mention the fact that Backhouse needs all of the friends that he can get being thrust into this role. So, how do we build this back four in Bremen? I'm thinking Sugawara in for the immediate start, Niklas Stark, Karim Koulibaly, who actually had a good camp, youngster. He also starts at center back. And Agu, if fit, can slide into that left back role. I don't really know. You were a little harsh on Leonardo Bittencourt last week, I think. I think they'll have a much, much better match this time around. And other than that, there are some accents about Bremen. So, I mean, they're going to come up with the same attack, basically. Schmid, Jinma, Mbangula, and Krul, who can play as a halfway decent center forward until they get another one. What do we do about this Leverkusen lineup? So many comings and goings and so many high-profile signings and leavings. How do we build the midfield? Do we throw Vasquez in there immediately in the Leverkusen midfield? I think we can. We can keep the back four the same with or the back three rather. Well, no, we can't keep it the same because Hincapie is leaving. So Jesus Christ, you can drive a person crazy with it. I'm probably driving our viewers crazy as I drive myself crazy with this stuff. But all right, so we can bring in Tape. Or Tape. I think it's Tape because there's no accent mark on there to replace Hincapie. Kwanzaa, Tapsoba. Who the hell is going to start at right wing back? I don't know. Either Vasquez or Tella, though he'll probably be pissed off about it. Palacios and Andrich in the midfield. Grimaldo, assuming he's still there on the left flank. And then we have Ibrahim Matza working behind Patrick Schick, but I don't know who the second attacker is that works behind there. Maybe Tella if he's not filling in at right wing back. Maybe Malik Tillman, but I'm going to let you know a little secret. I don't really believe Malik Tillman's a very good player. He's going to have to prove it for me at this level. All right, so here's what I'm going for. Shock tip here: a boring 1-1 draw between these two teams as they play sloppy, choppy, completely disorganized football with all of these new actors in place. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, we actually sync up. I've gone for a 2-2 draw in this one. I just think there's so much upheaval at both of these clubs, and I'm going to fall short of calling them both crisis clubs, but I think a defeat in this game, and you're starting to feel that way, really, for both of these two teams. I just feel as though Bremen, all of a sudden everyone has started talking about them as relegation favourites. I think you were saying it, Peter. I've read a lot of other people that, agree with you as well. Obviously, the signing from Southampton at fullback is definitely something that they needed. I would imagine he's a halfway decent player if he played in the Premier League last year. Can't profess to know that much about his skills, but it was a much-needed acquisition for the very threadbare coffers of Werder Bremen at the minute. They're still missing that top-level striker, obviously, after Dux left. Gruel, He's the kind of guy that can put in a halfway decent performance, but is he going to be good enough as like a number 9 this season? Probably not, in my opinion. I think Njimba showed a little bit of promise when he, on the rare occasion he got the ball last week. He scored a good goal himself, and they're going to need him to play well this season for sure. But for some reason, I feel as though Bremen, if you remember last season, they got 4 points off Leverkusen. It was a much better Leverkusen team last year, let's not forget. So I still feel as though Leverkusen are going to need probably 5-6 weeks to realize the best 11. They're going to have to get through the transfer window to even realize who they have at the club, basically, because it seems as though they're effectively determined to completely change the entire squad this season, basically, Leverkusen. That's the way it's going. Obviously, there's been a lot more departures since just the first match day. Alex Garcia, Hincapié likely to leave as well. So basically, as you say, Peter, we don't know really what the lineup's going to be in truth. So I think that obviously Leverkusen have got the better players, but I feel as though the Bremen crowd and the fact that they're a little bit more stable should be able to get a draw from this one. So I've gone for a 2-2 draw. It'll probably be a decent match to watch, but I mean, both teams are looking a little bit shaky at the minute, to say the least. We've got a few good tips in as well. Justin thinks a 3-2 for Bayern. And Sammy thinks a 2-1 for Werder. Wow, that's an interesting one. Yeah, so a lot of different views on this one. A bit on Sugawara as well. He's pretty good, to be fair. Unfortunately, played for a rubbish team. Yeah. He's probably not joined the best team in Germany either at the moment, in truth. But
I saw him play for Japan. He was really good, and he was also he played in the Eredivisie for Alkmaar for a little while. So he's a good player. They also got. Kudos to them. I was shouting about this on the Monday pod. They signed Isaac Schmidt from Leeds. It took them a month.
They finally got there.
A freaking month to finally get that signing over the line. It was so ridiculous. And Clemens Fritz actually said that it was, we had to wait for Leeds to get a replacement first. What do you don't have to wait for Leeds for anything. Just get the damn deal over the line.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, let's move on to quite an exciting looking game as well. Another one that I think, has the potential for goals. VfB Stuttgart versus Borussia Moenchengladbach. I mean, obviously the big news, we can't talk about this game without talking about the imminent transfer of our favorite, Bundesliga show legend, Nick Woltemade is going to be going to Newcastle. For 70 million euros approximately. Probably just light change for the Saudi guys over there in Newcastle, but for the Stuttgart, obviously it robs them of probably the best player they've had in a long time, really, the VfB, I would say. So unfortunately, he's the latest star to leave the Bundesliga, but I suppose that leaves gaps for others to come in. I think the issue for Stuttgart is that they've not got much time to find a replacement. Obviously, just basically a matter of hours, really, them to find a replacement. It's not looking good in terms of that. I mean, obviously they still have Undav, but he's been kind of off colour for quite a while now, really, Dennis Undav. But this could be his opportunity to kind of step into that number 9 role. Demirovic as well, who got a double, obviously, against Braunschweig in that very entertaining cup tie midweek as well. So I guess they're not completely lacking in quality up front, but it is definitely a blow to the VfB. As for Gladbach, they've got problems on the other side, really. They've not been scoring enough goals, have they? And obviously, Tabakovic was pretty dreadful, really, last week, and is a very underwhelming sign in his own right. They look relatively solid in midfield. Obviously, my Nuremberg boy, Kastrop, making his debut as well last week off the bench, which was good to see. But they seem to be quite stacked in midfield, don't they? But it's more up front at the minute. Without Kleindienst, they're going to be a bit short. They need more from Sturger. They need more from Honorat this week, for sure. They're the kind of go-to guys in this game. But for some reason, I don't really know why in this one, but I've tipped a 2-2 draw. I feel as though Stuttgart games are very rarely bad to watch. They're almost always entertaining. Like, they're a very attack-minded team. They like to go forward, score goals. The likes of Leveling is on form. Demirovic, obviously, on the back of those 2 goals, is going to probably get a start as well here, I would imagine. So there should be goals in this one. Gladbach have a pretty good record against Stuttgart too. I believe they did the double over them last season, so they'll definitely be well prepared for this game. So I've gone for a 2-2 draw in this one. It should be a good watch between 2, tradition clubs. It'll be a great atmosphere down there. What do you think, Peter?
I will tip a Stuttgart win here, and I'll explain my reasoning as always. First of all, I mean, that was a fantastic cup tie. Good Lord. I mean, I wrote a huge 4,000 or 3,000 word, tactical review and player ratings piece on it, just because I enjoyed it so much. Stuttgart defended rather poorly because you had three new actors in the back line. The injury to Luka Jakas, whom I'm quite gutted for. He had a Swiss international. He had a great camp, and he really deserved to take that starting spot away from Jelch. And then Jeff Chabot, who had an amazing camp and would have been in line for a German national team call-up had he not gotten hurt. Speaking of a player that I'm gutted for. I'm not too gutted for Nick Voltemata, the Wolverine. Of course, he's one of my favorite players, but this transfer saga with Bayern has been ridiculous all summer long. And I think he's moving to Newcastle for 90 million.
90 now, wow.
Yes. And this isn't even a player who was on Stuttgart's Champions League roster last year. And as a matter of fact, just got back from a loan out at Elversberg last year. No, he didn't. No, he was with.
He was with Bremen before, and then before that he
went back to Bremen that 1 year. Okay. Anyways, I mean, obviously, he's an incredibly physically gifted player. He's done great work for the Germany U21s and the German national team as both a 9 and a 10. He's incredibly flexible. The 2 meter long Messi, who can also play at 10. Stuttgart still have a very, very good team. And I know that Undav catches a lot of flack, but I mean, he can serve very well as a 10. He came out of his slump late last season. Führich has been much improved. He's had a very good camp. So did Leveling. Leveling had that amazing dribble down the touchline in the Tuesday night Pokal fixture to eventually set up Voltemata's goal. The fact that Thiago Tomas is back right now it's just that's beautiful for the club. And I think that Henrik Jelch are going to start again. Assignon, he has been struggling with some personal problems, which we don't want to report on throughout training camp, and he had a poor first half, but he did get better. And also converted that penalty for Stuttgart. I still think that Wagnermann starts in this one. Hopefully, we don't see that tactical conflagration that we saw from Hoeneß last week. That was so stupid. But on the topic of stupid, I think that Haris Tabakovic's signing may have been the stupidest signing of the summer. I mean, to be fair to Gladbach, they did get Shuto Machino. They are expecting findings. I mean, the Shuto Machino is a great signing, but of course he got hurt. So yeah, I don't know what Seoane was aiming for last week. I guess, was Dix hurt? Is that why Chiarodia started above Dix? I'm not quite sure.
No, he came off the bench, Dix, in the
Dix
end.
Came off the bench, he did. Yeah, and then, Sturger sort of had an off match, but he brought in Neuhaus? What?
We've not seen him in years, basically.
Well, I mean, I thought Neuhaus was, I thought he was done with Gladbach after getting drunk at the bottom on this summer and mouthing off. Don't do that. What do you think, you're English? No. So I don't. It's going to be a long season for Gladbach, or at least it will be until they get Tim Kleindienst back. And I just don't know what Seoane was aiming for. So I think it's a big. I mean, it's the home debut for die Schwaben. We all know how great the atmosphere is there. What are they calling? Is it still the MHP Arena? I wish they wouldn't do that. I mean, one of the things that's great about this Friday's Bundesliga opener, the Volksparkstadion, as it should be, sponsorship. Just like Max Morlock or Fritz Walter, for that matter. We don't need to sell our stuff. But it's going to be a great atmosphere, and so I'm going to go for a 2-1 Stuttgart win.
Yeah. We've got a few other tips as well. We got a 2-all, Justin agreeing with me on that one, and then a 3-2 VFB for Petrie. Yeah, of course. He'll be drowning his sorrows right now after his favorite player, Voltemata, is obviously leaving. So, commiserations, Rory, if you're watching as well. Yeah, Sammy also told us that Dick's got injured pre-season, only a muscle injury, so he should start this week. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I even wrote that. because I wrote about how he got injured in camp in my Gladbach preview. I just forgot it. It happens.
Great. So yeah, let's move on to the next game, which is a game of two form teams. Probably some would argue, two of the three most impressive sides really last weekend. Obviously, TSG Hoffenheim versus Frankfurt. So what can you say, Peter? I'm going to let you lead out on this one.
Well, much to my chagrin, Hoffenheim have a very, very good team this year, and Eintracht Frankfurt do as well. But they were playing a Bremen side in complete disarray last week. If there is some hope, of course, we have these Hoffenheim injuries to discuss. Koki Mashida will be out long term. It might be the case that Mal Chavez starts for him, or maybe Hajdari, this new guy that they signed. The loss of Wouter Berger in midfield might hurt, but they could also bring in Muhammad Damar, who might click a little bit with his former Elversberg teammate Fiznik Eslani. But I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I think Dino Topmüller rolls out the exact 4-2-3-1 that we saw last week. There's no reason for him to change at all. Once again, congratulations to Kan Ozun, being the youngest Frankfurt player to get 3 scorer points in a game since records of that sort began. I think they only began in like 1989, so could be wrong about that. It was an excellent performance from just about everybody involved in Frankfurt. And we have some young Germans who are really on the uptick here. Also, Nnamdi Collins and Jonathan Burkhardt. So I'm going to bet with my heart and say that the SKA go into Sinsheim, and where the atmosphere will be, as it often is in Sinsheim, and they come away with a 3-1 victory in this case.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to this one because I think there'll obviously be a massive partisan following from Frankfurt, considering the distance is maybe 100 kilometers, maybe less even. It's not so far the trip into Baden-Württemberg, almost on the border, really, isn't it, with Hessen, really, in some ways. But it's going to be an interesting match. Obviously, Hoffenheim, very impressive in the opening week, but as you say, Mashida and Berger will both be missing. I would imagine Damar will come into the team as well. Obviously, another impressive Elversberg loanee along with Aslani. I was a little bit shocked he didn't start, actually, last week, because obviously that kind of famous partnership really last year was what sent Elversberg in what many people feel should have been into the Bundesliga, really, obviously kind of bottling the playoff against Heidenheim in the end, really. But yeah, it was very impressive. So I think they won't be too much lighter. So I think we will see them score goals, this Hoffenheim side. And Lemperle is one that I think we're going to be watching this season. He looks ready to go as a number 9, and obviously had a really impressive debut last week at Leverkusen. But Frankfurt ultimately look an even better side at the minute. Obviously Chanozone is ready to shine. Obviously last season used in part, still had a pretty decent season. I think he still got 5 or 6 goals, but obviously was used a little bit more bit part, particularly in the early part of the season. But we've got so many impressive players like Collins, Behoya, Larson is getting better and better. It's a quality Frankfurt side, even without obviously Ekitike. But Johnny B had a pretty underwhelming debut, you would say, last week after missing that easy chance. But it looks a strong team, even if Johnny B isn't quite Ekitike. But I feel as though they're going to get a 3-2 win here. I think this is one of the games to watch in terms of quality this weekend. I think it's 2 strong teams this season. I think two of the teams that are probably a little bit better even than last season, I would say, this year. Definitely Hoffenheim is significantly better, but I would say Frankfurt's balance and overall team is slightly better, even though they lost Ekitike as well. It's going to be a good game in Sinsheim, and I think the people's results as well, it's going to be a Frankfurt win in this one. But we've also got another 2-2 from Justin. I think you've tipped almost every game 2-2 this week, Justin. Yeah, and Sammy's agreeing with us as well, Peter, that the SGE are going to get the big win in this one. So yeah, on to another game of two form teams as well. It's a Bavarian derby as well. Let's not forget, we've not only got the Hamburg derby this weekend, we've also got the Bundesliga's only Bavarian derby at the moment as well. It's only two teams based in Bavaria. FC Augsburg versus the Rekordmeister, the invincible, the gods of German football, Bayern Munich. But obviously, as an FCA fan, an FCA sympathizer, I would say, obviously Nuremberg is my main club, but Augsburg is my Bundesliga club. I'm very happy with what they delivered last week. I think it was a backs to the wall kind of counter-attacking performance, but playing to the strengths under Sandro Wagner. And I feel as though anyone who was a little bit worried about Wagner before the season, I think the nerves will have been settled after seeing that first performance. And even though Freiburg did have most of the play, it was once again based on extremely solid defense with the highly impressive Matt Siemer. By the way, I've got to say, why is no one come in for Matt Siemer? Because he's got a market worth of like 25 million on Transfermarkt. And I feel as though, really, check it out. Yeah, he's a hell of a coup that Augsburg were actually able to procure him. A fantastic player. Obviously, Halverleu and the newly recalled Schlotterbeck as well, looking highly impressive. I think they're probably lacking the striker, though, and maybe, the midfield is still a little bit untested with the likes of Masengo, who didn't see too much of the ball last week. I feel as though Bayern could be a step too far at this stage of the season. I think we'll see Augsburg will compete. There'll be strong offset plays, as they always are. They won't make it easy for Bayern. I'm sure there'll be some tough tackles that go in there. I mean, you and I saw this game as well, didn't we? Obviously, not last season, but the season before. And it was a really good spectacle as well that day, with Augsburg being rather unfortunate to lose 3-2 on the day. And I'm going to go this time for a 3-1. By the way, one thing I've got to mention as well for this game, this is Augsburg's first Topspiel, first Saturday evening Topspiel since 2011-12, I believe. I literally found that information, and it's the first Topspiel that they've had since 2011-12, really. Yeah, that was the information that I read. Anyone could correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time they've had a Topspiel since then. I'm not sure if that's at home or at all, but check it out. But it is the first time. So it's congratulations, Augsburg. You finally got your Topspiel. You kind of be for Saturday evening primetime viewing. But that is a hell of a stat that I read. So, Peter, are you concurring with me that FC Bayern are going to get the win here?
Yeah, of course. I guess you could be right about that. I mean, because Augsburg, they play so many Friday night games.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of them as well.
Yeah.
They never get the Topspiel. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it has. I mean, I would say that it has something to do with the kids, but kids are obviously kept up past their bedtime for the Friday night spiel, which is at 8:30. So they would be that's the Topspiel is much earlier. Interesting. It might be Augsburg hosting a Topspiel.
Yeah, it's one of the two, but I definitely read that, and it was just blew my mind.
I don't recall a Saturday evening Topspiel in the Arena, so you could well be right about that. To answer your question about Matsima, if I'm not mistaken, I think did they have an automatic purchase option on him?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, from I think it was in Monaco they got him from.
Yeah. Right. So it was triggered, and it was only 5 million, and then he was able to increase his estimated market value up really in the last 6 months with that. I mean, he was part of that incredible Torup back three that produced all those consecutive shutouts, and Finn Dahmen had the record and everything like that. And Schlotterbeck, whom you mentioned, it's really impressive how he's displaced Sesigo. You wouldn't have thought that, but Kevin Schlotterbeck always knows how to beat the odds. Well, having watched the Bayern Pokal match last night, I'm actually not too. That would have been SV in Wiesbaden. Du hast Bayern.
That's mine. We've been everywhere, Peter, haven't we? That's another place we've been, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah. But I'm not really concerned. I mean, those two goals came out of nowhere. And then Harry Kane missed a penalty. I mean, it was bound to happen at some point. Not too many rotations from Company in this one. I think all he did was bring in Karl and Pavlovic, and then and Bowie and Guerrero as well. But in terms of the front line, Diaz, Kane, and Olise all started with the full 90 minutes. Kimmich too. I think you'll see some rotations here, but it's not really going to matter. It was a 3-2 game that we saw, or a 2-3 game if you want to use the English system at the VBK Arena. So it was a really good game. Remember that great assist from Kevin Mbabu, and that
Mbabu, I missed him.
And then Ermedin Demirovic, I think, missed a penalty if I'm not mistaken.
And I think Augsburg had a goal disallowed too, so it was a really competitive fixture.
It was a good match. It was a really good. That's always a good match when they do the Kinderparade there in Augsburg. And
the trip to Augsburg, it has to be on anyone's bucket list. I would recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, we'll have to. I mean, I still got the membership, so we can in this season. Absolutely.
Let's do it.
I mean, it's. I think he brings out the big boys here. But the fullbacks are rotated back in. Stanisic, who actually really impressed me last week. He was one of the better players on Bayern's pitch. And then, of course, Leimer, converted right back. That experiment just continues to work wonders. So Company brings back all the big dogs here, and that includes deploying Serge Gnabry at 10 and moving Olise out to the wing. And Augsburg can't really compete with that. It doesn't matter how good that back three is. I mean, that's essentially, if you count Goretzka in there, that can be construed as a front five. Goretzka usually moves up so far. So they just don't have it, unfortunately. And Philip Tietz is back, but does that really make a difference? I'm going to actually. This is sad. I think that Bayern have a 3-0 victory in Augsburg's first Topspiel in 14 years, in their last 15 years in the top flight. But that's my prediction in any case.
Yeah, they are looking pretty strong at the minute, aren't they, Bayern? But anyway, let's move on to Sunday's game. We've got a triple header on Sunday, haven't we? Which is fantastic to see. The first of those games is going to be Wolfsburg versus Mainz. Two teams in different veins of form, really, at the minute. Obviously, Wolfsburg, Peter, flew out of the blocks, didn't they? So do you want to talk us through that one?
Well, they're a lot better than I originally assessed last week. I mean, you have to accord them a lot of respect. Of course, there is the Mark van Bommel metric. Let's not forget how good Wolfsburg were under Mark van Bommel back in the autumn of 2021 until they completely, imploded. But I mean, it's a very, very good squad. I think Vinicio Souza. Hey, we can get players from the Isle, from Sheffield. There, he really complements Maximilian Arnold in midfield quite well. Arnold, of course, set piece magician. Pasinovic, who's about to earn, if I read that correctly, his first Germany U21 call up. He didn't get his name on the score sheet, but did a good job on the deep drops and held up the ball reasonably well, I thought. So, I mean, they are a hell of a lot better than I was initially willing to give them credit for. And Wolfsburg are about to complete about, I would say, 3 to 4 more big value, big money signings, mostly to the defensive core this season. But they are good. They are better. And unfortunately with Mainz, it's just a case of, maybe too many fixtures. I mean, they had this grueling Pokal fixture against Dynamo Dresden. They had the unexpected upset loss against Rosenborg Trondheim. Of course, they are winning tonight. So, I mean, the Henriksen had to bring out the big boys to make sure that they qualify for the Conference League and get Conference League football. They had this nasty situation with Nelson Viper's contract extension and his transfer request, which was a distraction. There was Paul Nabel's red card in the loss last week against Köln, which will leave him suspended for a couple of matches. Unfortunately, I think Mainz, who are still playing as we speak right now in the Mewe Arena, they're at halftime leading Rosenborg Trondheim 3-1. are unfortunately just going to be entirely too gassed. Doesn't matter if Nelson Viper is back leading the line. There's been very, very few squad rotations from Henriksen, and as much as I would like to see our boy Armindo Sieb fill in on that second attacking axis, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Wolfsburg win in this instance.
Yeah, it's not an easy one to tip this because, as the guy said, it seems as though Mainz have finally found the shooting boots this season. They put 3 past Rosenborg in the first half, so that's a positive sign. The likes of Viper on the score sheet as well, which they're going to need as well because, Hollerbach, very unfortunate to get injured just 15 minutes into his debut against Köln as well. So he's not going to be available for this one. I feel as though Mainz could slightly do better than what people think. I don't think it's going to be a case that Wolfsburg just go and fly out of the blocks now and win 3-4 on the bounce. I still feel as though there's got to be caution applied, as always, when it comes to the VfL. I feel as though Mainz have still got a good team, but they've just not shown it this season so far in the first 3 games. But it seems as though tonight they have improved the performance. They still need to make sure they get through that tie, so they're in the round, the Conference League group stage. That'd be very disappointing if they blow that. But I guess they've got the lead in the tie now, so they should be okay, I would imagine. And that'll buoy them, they'll be buoyant going into this game because it's probably worth quite a lot of cash, even though it's only the Conference League. I would imagine it's 6 extra fixtures, minimum 6, with the high chance of getting through that group stage. So the money, they need that cash, these kind of clubs. So I feel as though the early part of the season was mostly prioritizing that tie, basically, so they can at least get into the group stage. So I think should they get through that, they will be quite buoyant going into this one. I feel as though Viper, at the end of the day, he's a high potential player. He was involved with the U21s. He scored tonight. He didn't really show me that much when he played last season, but he was still very young. I feel as though with, a season under his belt of kind of part-time playing, really, he's going to be much better this season. So I can actually see a 1-1 draw here. I feel as though Mainz will get a point. They'll get off the mark for the season. And it seems as though the other guys have agreed with me as well. Justin's got for another 2-2. Wow, yeah. And Sammy's agreed with him this time with another 2-2 draw. 2-2 is the score on the doors this weekend, guys. You've got to stick all the money you have on 2-2 in every game, and you'll be rich people by the end of it. But yeah, let's move on. So the second game on Sunday is probably the one that will have the most people attracted to it. It's going to be Dortmund, Union Berlin. Obviously, a pretty crazy opening game, really, for Dortmund, wasn't it? That game had it all. It was classic Bundesliga, really, and classic Dortmund as well at the same time, in many ways. It seemed as though they got the win in that game before snatching a draw from the jaws of victory, really, in that one with a late collapse against an impressive St. Pauli side. Obviously, transfer news involving them as well. Obviously, Maximilian Bayer, who didn't really do it, linked with a 70 million euro move to Brentford. If anyone doubted the Premier League money, that says it all. I remember the days when Brentford were playing Wigan Athletic in League One in front of about 3,000 people, and now they're splashing out 70 million on a player. It's just absolutely mind-blowing, really. But yeah, that's a side note. As for Dortmund, it's not going to do too much impact on their team because he doesn't really play anyway, in truth, and he was benched last week after a poor debut season, really. As for Dortmund, obviously they do have issues defensively as well. I feel as though they were quite poor defensively last week. Who's going to come in there? I'm not quite sure. I feel as though Kobel as well he's not doing it at the minute, is he? I think obviously the first couple of seasons he was there, he was really good, but I felt as though he was shaky last week. Filippo Mane won't be available for this game. Not sure if that's really too much of a blow, in truth, but that's one thing. Obviously, Joe Bellingham is the other talking point, isn't it? Obviously, a bit of a scandal with your friend Mark Bellingham, which we discussed in detail on Monday, if you want to hear more. That also got talked about in the English media quite a bit as well. And some of the English pundits were saying that, he was right, really, because he was not used correctly. Whether he will be used correctly this weekend, I don't know. we have to wait and see for that. But either way, I still feel as though Dortmund will get over the line in this one. Union, obviously, with a really impressive win. It's been a bit of a baptism of fire this season for them, hasn't it? With games against Stuttgart and Dortmund to kick off the season. But ultimately, I feel as though they are quite a limited side away from home. They're just going to look to keep it tight. They'll probably need Rennerve to bail them out again in this game if they're going to get even a point from this one. Obviously, Anza, we've got to give credit to him. He had a fantastic debut, particularly a live wire, 2 good goals for good strikers' goals as well. I felt those ones. So there is quality in the side, but I just feel as though they're not going to get enough possession in the match to really trouble Dortmund. So I've gone for a 3-1 Dortmund win in this one. Peter?
Yeah, I will actually will sync up exactly on this one. I'm even going to say a 3-0 as a matter of fact for Dortmund. I think they shut out Union. I mean, that was amazing from Ansah. What an amazing story that was. No Union player that young has collected a brace on his debut. So he also, along with Kanuzun, set a club record. And I really I've always liked him. I think that he was, he was one of Kwasniok's proteges there at Paderborn. And he'll hopefully be representing Germany at U21 level when the roster comes out tomorrow as well. I sincerely hope so. He's already done the U20s. Now, with respect to Dortmund, I finally realized what set me off about Mark Bellingham so much. He's like, he looks kind of like an English Rasputin. You ever notice that? minus the long hair. I mean, it's kind of it looks like he just like.
I'll check him out. Yeah. Well, I've seen it. I'll check out. Yeah, Rasputin.
You don't want to see him. You don't want to see him. I'm telling you, the mother is like I said. The kids, thing related, they use like his mother. They look like their mother. But anyways, yeah. I mean, the system that Kovac has is not bad. And it just needs a little bit of tweaking. I think that he puts Ryerson in there at right wing back. Mane is out, as you mentioned, but I think Anselmino is fit enough to start. He's had a couple of days of training. I don't know whether or not we see Chukwuemeka yet, because that transfer was only just confirmed. We're certainly not going to see Fabio Silva. I don't even know if that's been confirmed tonight or they're waiting on tomorrow morning. But this Dortmund team with Adeyemi and Guirassy up front, and actually that was a really good match from Kobel last week. I think they have the right keeper in place here. And Union, I mean, it made for a great story, but I mean, they were so far off the ball, and in typical Union fashion, they didn't really want the ball. And, I mean, that's Baumgart has this team playing precisely like every other Union team in the past is playing. So I think that this is the beginning of what's going to be a significant goal-scoring drought for them. Speaking of teams that may or may not score a lot of goals in the Bundesliga, that brings us to the Capper, which I think is probably also worth your time, though. A lot of people who checked out Köln Mainz last week probably regretted it. It was not exactly Super Sunday in the Bundesliga. With Köln, we had 180 minutes of football and one goal, which wasn't even really much of a goal from Marcus Bülter. It was
good for an early night's sleep.
Yeah, there you go. You're right. I mean, this is actually an interesting case, Köln, because I mean, I think that what Krasniok has done with the team in camp, I mean, they've completely retooled it, and Thomas Kessler, this new Kölner manager, he's done a much better job than Kunz has of rebuilding, of like sort of building a balanced squad. The roster's still too large, and they're doing their best to get to jettison the dead weight off of it. I mean, they've gotten rid of Stefan Tigges, they've gotten rid of Florian Dietz, Sargis Ademayan nixed to move to Osnabrück, but and we haven't even seen anything from these or much of anything from these Almala brothers yet. The ones that, speaking of crazy English transfers, was it Brighton that wanted to pay 10 million or something like this for Said, the slightly younger one. That hasn't even played a Bundesliga match yet. Spent the last year on loan with Victoria Köln in the freaking Dritte Liga. So I think this could actually be a really good match. We talked about Freiburg a little bit on the Monday pod. I said that I'm not too concerned about the Breisgauer. Schuster was running some really screwy tactics last week against Augsburg that didn't make a lot of sense. He had Monzambi at the 6. I guess he wanted to give Suzuki a trial in 10 spot. Easily rectifiable. You bring Monzambi up to the 10. You start Besta or Scherhant or Ari or somebody like this in place of Dingshi. And you've got a solid 4-2-3-1 there. And then Köln, I mean, they're trying to get together some high octane football with what kind of looks like a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-2-1 or something like this. But it's interesting. It's an interesting little thing that he's got going there with the wing backs. Both of them new, Christopher Lund and Sebastian Sabulinson. And then the buttressing support attackers are Jakub Kaminski and Jakob Thielmann behind Bülter. Johannesson, this Düsseldorf guy, he looks kind of interesting in midfield next to Martel. And so it's the way that these two tactics match up on your little notepad are really, really interesting. And that leads me to say that for the first time in this entire pod, I'm going to pick a 2-2 draw.
Wow, there you go. Yeah. We finally got it. We finally got Peter.
Yes, maybe a Luca Waldschmidt brace. Starting in place of Thielmann on the right-hand side.
I mean, to be fair, that assist he got last week, that was a hell of a ball in, wasn't it, from Luca? It's probably the first decent thing he's done in about 3 years, but still, like, it was a hell of a ball in, yeah. But yeah, we've got Sammy's going for a 2-1 win for the Billy Goats as well, and we've got a lot of support for Köln, but I still feel as though Freiburg have got such a strong squad. I think this year it's about Schuster finding that balance. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I mean, if you look at the bench, some of the players they had on that bench last week, I mean, they'd walk into many teams in the league. You know, the likes of Röhl. I mean, Merlin Röhl. When we saw him live, Peter, I just remember thinking he was so impressive. He's an athlete of a player, and it almost seems a waste that he's been sitting so long on the bench, really, in a way. And I'd like to see him get involved. Obviously, Suzuki kind of played that number 10 role last week, didn't he? But he didn't impress at all, really, and was hooked off relatively early in that game. But they do have options to, you know, obviously Bester, I guess, is injured at the moment. But they've also got Scherhant as well, Scherhant, who is an impressive player from Hertha. And I actually saw him play last season for Hertha, and he looked a class above. So I'm looking forward to seeing him this season. I feel as though he's an excellent pickup from them. So I'd like to see a few rotations really in the team. It didn't really work that well, did it? Dingchi is one that's starting to go, you know, a bit stale at the club as well. He's been given quite a few chances over the last 18 months or so, and it's just not worked out as it's so far. So I expect we will see a few changes. Maybe the likes of Scherhant, Röhl could start in this game. But I feel as though the momentum is with the Billy Goats at the minute. You know, they obviously Kwasniok, he looks a bit of a character as well, doesn't he, with his Köln T-shirt on the touchline last week. Seems as though they picked a manager which really fits the club. The fans are behind him, the ex-Paderborn manager, you know, kind of really done his apprentice in the Zweite Liga, hadn't he? Was highly respected over there.
We said the same thing about Stefan Baumgart with his flat cap when he was.
We did.
Too. Oh, they've got a great manager who really identifies with the club.
Yeah. It is. I think Köln is that kind of club where you feel as though you have, a bit like Union, you have to kind of identify with it to be part of it. You know, it's one of those clubs really. But unfortunately, they have had a lot of managers in recent years that didn't identify with it. But yeah, definitely, it seems though they found the right man. They're going to be hard to beat this season. The crowd are back behind them, which obviously fell away towards the end of their last tenure in the Bundesliga. But I still feel as though this is two pretty good teams that are set for good seasons, really. But I've gone for a 1-1 in this one. I think it's still early days in the season. Both teams will need a little bit more time to get to know their absolute best systems. I feel as though Köln know their team better than Freiburg at the minute. But Freiburg, I agree with you, Peter. I don't worry about them. I think they're going to be strong and still in the top 6, 7 this season. It might just take a little bit of time to get to know the best team this year because they have had quite a few comings and goings. But I think it'll be a 1-1, but could be quite an entertaining open 1-1, I feel, this one, for sure. So, yeah, that concludes our match week 2 predictions, Peter. And thanks a lot, guys. We've had some fantastic interaction tonight. It's always great to have you guys with us and telling us what you think about the matches. And thanks a lot to Sammy, who really contributed a lot tonight, and also Justin, as ever, who is one of our long-term supporters as well, which is great to see. Yeah, if you enjoyed what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that kind of thing. And also don't forget that we are also on social media, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and the like. Don't forget as well to check out Rory and Runa's fantasy show as well, which just went live just about an hour before we went live as well. So check that out too. Recommend us to your friends and let them all know and spread this fantastic Bundesliga community. So thank you very much for that. We'll see you again on Monday for the review, and enjoy the match action. See you then, guys. Servus.